there's gonna be a big collab with us and another company of some sort. So I mean, if you can put the pieces together, you may figure it out, but maybe not. So just stay tuned. Follow us on all the socials.
Yes, sir. It's like our first actual product as a group, which is really cool.
Oh yeah, and I think about it often, which I'm not trying to blue ball anyone watching, but it's actually kind of crazy, like being a supporter of this said company, and us kind of coming together. And I'm the newest member of Cantina, so I love these boys. So it's dope to be like, damn, we're just jumping straight into things. So like this is kind of crazy. It's gonna be a big thing. So everyone stay tuned for that. But yeah, Meesa, how have you been? I know you just started recently posting again on Instagram. The Lego photographer that you are, editor, good mind. So what's that looking like for you, bro?
Yeah, I'm trying to get back into the swing of things a bit. It's just been kind of like a little lapse of like ideas. I've gotten to my own head a little bit. I was like, well, I don't want to post stuff that's just like basic to me, because I feel like anybody can do that, and I like to stand out with my posts. I like when people look at them and they really like see a story out of it and not just a picture of a minifig or a set. So I found myself like starting to like lose inspiration or find ideas for something I haven't done yet, or um, just some new spark for me. I'm still trying to find it. So um, it's interesting. And I don't like uh, get down on myself for not posting either. To me, it's just something fun that I do. So if I'm currently not finding the inspiration behind it, I let it take a step back. I mean, I still have a bunch of supporters and people I talk to through Instagram. So I know if I post 1 month at a time or every day, I'm still going to have the same core people that like to see my post and care about what I post. So I'm not really too concerned about it, but I'm still on Instagram all the time. As much as I try to stay off of like reels and the social media aspect of it, I still like
Yeah.
try to support the bros on there, make sure that they're doing everything, like I'm doing everything I can to support all the creators in the space. So that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, dude. And yeah, there's no problem with that. I mean, taking a break, even, if you need to, take some time off just from clicking on your phone, like that's always a good thing. Or even, like you said, there's so many people that do, what we all do, like when we take photos of Lego and like bring the toy aspect or the collectible aspect to life. It's just, everyone has their own taste for it. And plus, I mean, how many times do you scroll on Instagram and you just see, oh, there's another Stormtrooper minifig. Oh, there's another Darth Vader, whether it's a
Exactly.
shadow box or anything like that. I mean, it can be pretty basic, but if you do like a slight twist to it, and that's something I've learned even from you guys, or even just head positioning or body positioning, just a little tilt to them, just kind of fixing in the ways right there. But yeah, man, I mean, I always love what you post, man. Especially being in the group too. It's easy to always love what the Cantina boys do. But I think for sure, like Cantina Chaos, I feel like as a collective and even individually, I think that's just some of the best out there. And I'm not even being biased, and I'm not even too much of a photographer. I mean, I do it because you guys just like I feel like I have no choice. I got to take photos. You know what I'm saying? It's I'm not the best at it, but I like to kind of give my little twang to it. I love the grainy filter on Instagram. I love slapping that
Hmm.
onto a post just because it makes it feel kind of like late 80s, early 90s. So I always love doing that. But yeah, dude, I mean, obviously, you got the decked out Halloween Gungan, Mr. Jar Jar Beaks right there. Your little sig fig. I mean, obviously
Absolutely.
you got the idea for twisting up Lego and Star Wars. So I mean, yeah, dude, it's all good, but it's good to see you posting again, though, bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get back more on it. I take a lot of inspiration from really where I started getting a lot of it was from the Brickley Bugle. Little shout out to him, and not to like just because he's part of Cantina too, but when I saw
Right.
like some of the stuff that he was doing, like with posing and stuff, that gave me some of my first like inspiration. Um, and I kind of twisted it from there, started doing my own thing with editing and stuff like that. So I'm just trying to get back in the groove of it. But again, I'm not too worried. I'm still enjoying the hobby and everything I do, even if I'm going towards a little bit of different part of it, away from photography, more to actually like collectioning and enjoying my collection for what it is. That yeah. So
Yeah, dude, that is some of my favorite thing too, is just always being able to like fall back on the collecting side, just sitting back and just like looking at what I have. Or just like waiting for those new pieces. I mean, I know for sure you go through the same thing where you're just like, okay, I have like 5 things showing up in the mail this week. Next week it's gonna be even more. And then you go through those times where you're like not getting anything in the mail, and you're just like, damn, well, I gotta get some more things. But I feel like more so recently I've kind of step back a little bit. I think the last big purchase I got was the Stranger helmet from the Acolyte, and that was even a couple months ago. Um,
yeah,
but more so for the collection, I'm really just kind of waiting for Christmas. Might snag some things on Black Friday. Funkos, I mean, still going strong. Um, just dabbled into a little bit of horror. Just got another Stranger Things pop, showed you before stream. Um, the deformed Vecna. So Stranger Things is coming out too. I mean, that's just right around the corner. So it's kind of a good time for collecting, I will say.
yeah, absolutely. But it's gotten to the point for me, and I can see from your space as well, where you kind of have to be like a little bit of picky to what you add to the collection.
Yeah. It,
Just because we both don't have like tons of space, like a whole basement filled with just collection stuff. We kind of have our own little small spaces. So I had to like get to the point where I'm more like logical about what I want in my collection,
yeah.
instead of just getting everything. That's kind of what I was doing for the first like year or two I got back into Lego. I was like, oh, this new set, this new set, this new set. And now I'm like, oh my God, my shelves are full. And I don't need every new set that comes out. And it was kind of like a thing where I was just getting back into it. I was enjoying it. I was loving it. But now I'm appreciating it more for what I enjoy, not just having everything that Lego puts out or everything, every pop that comes out, or
Yeah.
even some little stuff. Like I have like side collections of other small stuff that I try to keep limited. So but just trying to maximize my space the best I can while still keeping it like readable and clean. Like I can't stand when people's shelves are just like sets on top of sets on top of
Oh,
sets. Like
dude, it makes me cringe, dude. And it's like you have great sets, but I don't know. It's just weird when you have like the executor, for instance. Like I have that right up here, like, and people have like the like Ahsoka or Yoda's like starfighter just sitting right underneath it. It's like, it
oh yeah,
doesn't look right. Like you can't do that.
like I
Um,
kind of have my
yeah.
collection like curated a bit. So like I have two like big Billy bookcases that on one side it's mostly all Rebel stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then the other side, it's all Empire stuff. And then I have my Clone Wars stuff separated. I have like a shelf that's like all Tatooine stuff. Like I don't. I'm very picky about where I display stuff in my collection. Like I won't have like my Slave One sitting next to like my Arc 170.
Yeah, no. Just doesn't make sense. And then it's just, yeah, I was like that for a while, but then I started figuring like, oh, okay, so some of these bigger sets can't sit next to, my brickheads. So now I got to consolidate.
Yeah.
And I mean, even the helmets, like I know uh Derek has like a shelf like just straight on the wall, and it's just all of his helmets just across. Like I need that. Especially like with the AT-AT driver helmet, the Kylo Ren helmet. I'm gonna hopefully get those for Christmas. So I'm gonna have literally no room to put my helmets now, since I added Jango Fett on Father's Day. So like that's the last helmet, and like I'm now crunched on space for the helmets. So I need to get something like that, kind of branch it out a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely it. That is another fun aspect of the collection to me. Is like I'll go through like every couple months and I'll change up my display and like what shelves some things are on. Like for a bit, I had one shelf that was Rebels against Empire, but then I I split them up a little bit so I could just like have more. I have a lot of Empire sets, so the Empire sets pretty much take up a whole bookcase on their own.
Dang,
Um,
yeah.
but like putting things together that makes sense, and then having that change up every once in a while, so it really just changes and refreshes. My biggest thing lately has been like organizing my official figs, like by either like what show or movie they're in their cases. So like I have a case, usually like one row for the shows. I have those two Lego display cases, the two row ones
Oh
with,
yeah.
so they have like the studs on top. And like one row will be like Ahsoka figs, and then another one is Obi Wan, or like I have the ones from the Boba Fett show, and then like um, Skeleton Crew figs below that. I just like
Mhm.
just having things together that makes like those don't really make sense together, but they're like the TV shows, so they're all like in the cases, the similar cases.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Mandoverse. I mean, you could kind of squeak those in there. It's going to
Yeah.
be interesting how those all slide together. I will say something too. I've been collecting, and just now a recent member of the comic book universe, bro.
Oh man.
The Legacy of Vader right here. These are money. It's all little short stories of Kylo Ren after it. Literally, the first issue takes place after um the battle on Crate. So it's just like literally hours after he just gets punked by Luke.
That's
And
pretty cool.
it like he literally just like takes off from there. So these are all, I mean, each comic is like $3.99 a piece. Like when I ordered them from my comic
Oh
book shop
yeah.
here in town, I was like, damn dude, I was like, fuck, I'm not trying to get into this. And yeah, here's another thing I'm spending lots of money on. And they're just, I was like, and just by chance, like how much are each issue? And they're just like, oh, they're $3.99. And I was just like, oh, well, I'll take all the issues then.
I'll just give me them all. Let me
Yeah,
get
I'll just take all of them. But I mean, those are fun because I mean, look, like this is how thin it is. It's not taking up
Oh
any
yeah.
room whatsoever.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'll take them all.
I've only bought one of them, and I did like read it. I kind of skimmed through it because there's not a whole bunch of reading that actually comes through them. But I bought it more as a like gift for my buddy, as kind of like a gag gift. But
Mm.
it was the Max Rebo comic,
I,
and,
I
and I
didn't
was
even
like,
know that
"Oh,
was a
that's
thing.
hilarious!" Yeah, it's pretty funny.
That's
I think
awesome.
if I remember, it was like maybe like a year or so ago. I got it. It's after Jabba's sail barge gets destroyed and
Have you
how
seen
he
that?
survives.
Have you seen that AI video of him like getting shot out from the barge and he lands in the
Yeah,
sand and just gets up and
yeah,
runs away?
yeah,
That's awesome. I love it. Yeah, dude. So I'm like over here thinking like, damn, dude, comics might just like kind of be the move now because it's like quick reading and that's what I like other than listening to
yeah,
audiobooks. So yeah, maybe that's a thing.
yeah. They're definitely cool, and they look like the all the art on them is cool. So it's like a cool desk piece or like a coffee table piece or something like that when you're done reading them.
Oh yeah. And well, yeah, too, with them being so like cheap, it's like if you ruin it, it's like, okay, maybe since these are, more common right now and they're
Yeah,
still
they
coming
print a
out,
bunch.
you can, you'll be able to find another issue with no problem. So yeah, that's always a good thing to have in mind, especially when you're collecting, because you're like, is this gonna blow up? Like, do I save this? Do I keep it in box? Like, how mint do I keep it in case I want to resell it one day? And I
Yeah.
mean, that in itself is really hard to predict.
Oh, 100%.
Well, let's go ahead and talk since we got some of the collecting universe out of the way. Let's talk about our own little Tales of series. And this is one that we've kind of pitched to each other, but I actually when I was putting in my notes here into the studio, I'm sitting here thinking like, okay, so if this was to come out this May 4th, and we're just gonna go ahead and run with the idea that the next Tales of series will drop on May 4th, hopefully, 2026. So this will be
Mhm.
just a couple weeks before the Mandalorian and Grogu hits trailer or hits theaters. So I don't know if this would be too fitting or too much to counteract the movie releasing. So we were thinking Tales of the Mandalore or Mandalorians. So, right off beat, I have a good start. Maybe a young Satine and Bo Katan. They're caught within the chaos of the Mandalorian civil wars. So we get to see them a little bit younger. We get to see how Satine, rises to be the ruler of Mandalore, the kind of the leader. And then also like Bo Katan. Like we've talked about how dope of a character she is. Like there's days where I'm like, okay, yeah, Bo Katan is easily a top 10 character in my opinion. But then some days I'm like, all right. There's 10 other characters that are just, just a little bit better than Bo Katan. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, like, how dope would that be? Like, what are some of like your thoughts right off the bat if we were to get that?
I mean, it would be really cool. I think the biggest thing about it would be really how Satine and Bo became so like different from each other.
Oh yeah,
Obviously sisters, but like what made Satine go to that more pacifist side and not want to take up the mantle of a Mandalorian compared to Bo, who was pretty much just a warlord. Like she wants to
yeah,
fight. She wants to be in that Mandalorian spirit, and she just does not have that same views of her sister. And I want to know where that come from. Is maybe that stems from stuff they saw or stuff from their parents. It could be anything, but it would just be interesting to explore that because it's something that's never, even though we got so much of Bo and a bit of Satine in the Clone Wars, we just don't know why they're separate and why they don't get along. It's just something that we had to be like, oh, this is what it is.
yeah. It is a weird thing because you're like when you find out that they're sisters, you're kind of just like, wait, that doesn't make too much sense. Like they're completely different, and I mean, the Mandalorians are very tight. They always stay together, and yeah, their ideology is almost polar opposite. I did have to Google what the age difference between Satine and Bo-Katan was, and it says that there's no officially stated age difference between Bo-Katan and Satine. So it says maybe some fans theorize that there's a larger gap, but the common assumption is that they're roughly the same age. So I mean, obviously they're not twins, um, but they very. I don't know. I would maybe say Satine might be older just by like 2 or 3 years if I was just to guess,
Yeah.
and it's kind of hard to like even have a guess on top of that. But it's also weird too looking at Bo-Katan in the Mandoverse because she kind of looks relatively young, but she's like in her mid 40s to late 50s during this time. So she's just a little bit younger than Grogu, a little bit younger than what Anakin slash Darth Vader would be during this time in the Mandoverse. But I mean, she's always been a prominent character. Definitely not a large character by any means, just like Satine. But what would you also think too if we got to see like the first like moments of where Jedi get to come into the picture? I mean, this is where we can probably see that first beginning introduction of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Satine. So like that is kind of a weird thing in itself. So Obi-Wan being like one of the best Jedi, um, you know, just fundamentally it's hard to think, he said, if she would have said the word, he would have left the order and been with her, uh
Yeah.
relationship wise, which is just insane. So it makes sense, but like where like how would that story even begin? Because I don't even think it's really too well established. I think he went to help her for the first time. Maybe the Mandalorians caught up to the Jedi. I don't really know the story, but like if we were to kind of like rewrite that and get that shown in a Tales of series, like what would you want that story to be?
Man, that is a tough one because it could go in so many directions.
Right.
And really, like starting off, like I know Obi-Wan was sent there in the early days to do some kind of like peacekeeping mission or something. I thought it was, but he was so young at that point and so like he wasn't fully established in the order. He was still learning truly how to be a Jedi. Um, so he was so impressionable,
Right.
and I'm sure everything that he saw there from at least Satine's side probably made him rethink, like, hey, like, do I really want to live this life, or do I want to live a normal life? And that was kind of his chance. And you kind of saw that a little bit in Mando season one. He had that same kind of interaction where like he could have gave up being the bounty hunter that he
Yeah.
was and just lived a simple life, and it was tempting for him, as it would be probably for everybody, to give up that responsibility and just live a simple life. And I think that is something that I think would have to be more than an episode of a Tales of series to really dive into.
Oh yeah.
And it would be interesting to see the first time if they did a Tales of, instead of like, well, we kind of saw a Tales of the Underworld, but not like a faction or something like Tales of the Empire, Tales of the Jedi. If we saw it like Tales of Forbidden Love or something like that, and it was half of it was Anakin and Padme, and half of it was Obi-Wan and Satine. That
That
may
would be
be
dope.
a cool way to show it.
Yeah, dude. I mean, just even on top of Obi-Wan and Satine, you get to see a little bit more of the, behind the scenes with Anakin and Padme, which, that love was pretty much the downfall of Anakin and what kind of made him fall to the dark side for, obvious reasons. You just watch anything that contains
Yeah,
Anakin Skywalker in it, and you see that. Um,
yeah,
so, I mean, yeah, with Obi-Wan and Satine, I mean, seeing where this starts, and it's also like, was Qui-Gon with Obi-Wan here on Mandalore during these times? Like, is he trying to guide him, into maybe not having that emotional connection? But we do know how Qui-Gon is. We know what kind of Jedi he is. He was one that didn't really see the same vision that the Jedi Order and Jedi Council had. Which I feel like for the most part, and you and I have talked about this, I feel like we would definitely lean more towards Qui-Gon and Dooku rather than, just your average Jedi. Because, I mean, we've had an idea of throwing out a video of just how flawed the Jedi are.
yeah,
And that's something too, when you think of this with Obi-Wan clearly being the Jedi he is, it's also crazy to know that there's like a key moment in his story where, he had a love interest for Satine Kryze, one of the leaders of Mandalore, which I don't know if you ever noticed in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series when he is talking to Leia about a woman, it is reference to Padme, but at the same time, he is kind of describing this woman as being fearless and a leader. And at my first thought, I was like, oh my God, he's talking about Satine. Like, that is crazy, crazy, crazy. But it ended up being Padme. But I mean, still, you could even kind of like put that into like your own head canon and think like, oh my God, he was talking about Satine freaking Kryze to a young Leia. Like, that's dope.
yeah. Like he could have been talking about Padme, but start having flashes to Satine. I mean, if you really think about it, they are so similar.
Oh
They
yeah,
are
and what they do, yeah.
strong, fearless women that were able to rule their respective home planets. Um, and they were both very well respected for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Satine got a little pushback from the actual Mandalorians
Yep.
and like the Death Watch, but um, just people that were raised in power and came up in power, but never let that like overtake them. They always stood to their values and what they cared about, what was best for their people. So they were very similar in that fact. Maybe that's why, like Obi-Wan, I mean, he clearly knew what was going on between Padme and Anakin, but
Yeah.
he understood it more than anybody else would. And he shows that. He shows the compassion for Anakin, where the rest of the council, had they known what Obi-Wan knew, probably would have expelled him from the Jedi Order right away.
Oh yeah.
Where Obi-Wan knows what it feels like to have that. And maybe part of him was like, you know what? I missed my opportunity and I don't want to have that same thing for Anakin, which ultimately, and we talked about their before that they're all flawed, and Obi-Wan is definitely not an exception to that.
No, yeah.
Where his like letting go of that, like just letting him do what he wanted, pretty much. He let Anakin do whatever he wanted. Um, he led to his downfall as well. He was definitely responsible for it.
Oh yeah, dude. And it also hits hard too with Obi-Wan when even Owen is just like, what, you want to train, Luke and just, let him go like you did his father. It's like, oh dude, shit. That one kind of hit. Like, damn. So yeah, I mean, it definitely is, Obi-Wan's fault, and it just sucks. We've seen Revenge of the Sith and the Kenobi series so many times, and you see those emotional fights, the dueling, and it's just like you really get to feel that pain, and it sucks, dude. Like that's in my opinion, that's just like why Obi-Wan is my favorite character, is just because emotionally I feel like I can connect to him the most, and it's not like I've gone through the same things he has or anything like that,
Yeah,
but it's just more of like, and I don't know if it's a Ewan McGregor thing, but it's just the acting is so phenomenal on every level. No matter if Obi-Wan's, getting his ass kicked by Count Dooku, like that is awesome. Seeing him train Anakin, seeing him talk with Anakin, and just how he interacts with the Jedi Council, how he interacts with Padme, like it's just anything that Obi-Wan does. I'm just like, wow, dude, this guy is awesome. But I would
he's
I
the
would love
most
to see him.
human. I think
Yes.
that's a big. He has a heart. He's compassionate, but
Yeah,
he's
he's
also ethical and responsible. So in reality, he should be the perfect Jedi.
right.
He was everything that Qui Gon was, but I don't think he had the same vision and the same foresight as Qui Gon did.
Yeah. And that's
Um,
such a weird lineage too, because like recently I just watched Tales of the Jedi again, and I just watched the Dooku 3, and I was just like, dude, like with how like weird Qui-Gon was, against the Order. When you watch Tales of the Jedi, you look at Jedi Dooku, and you're like, God, like they are so different in a way, and it's like the connection and the bond that they had. It's almost kind of surprising because Dooku more so wanted to like rule, and he had this like pent up anger against the Order, as like Qui-Gon was just more so like just wasn't on the same page. He was never like disrespectful. I mean, other than he did tell Yoda like, "I will train this child," and it's just like,
yeah,
you know, that's like a really cool thing, and you can see those moments, and especially in Tales of the Jedi, when you see Qui-Gon basically going against what Dooku was wanting to do when they're like on that town going up against those civilians, and he like chokes out the one, and Qui-Gon's just like, "Master, no," like so. Thinking of like how Obi-Wan is from that lineage is almost kind of like mind-boggling. So like seeing him have these relationships, even for instance with Satine, like this could really be a game changer, and I think a lot of Star Wars fans across the board would love to see 3 episodes of this. I mean, even if Obi-Wan's mentioned in one episode, that'd be cool for Satine's story. But I mean, seeing Satine rise to power too would just be a really cool thing to see, because we know how Mandalore works. It's all over the place.
yeah, absolutely. And if there's one character that you should explore every bit of his life throughout, it's Obi Wan.
Yes.
Because we obviously started off with older Obi Wan, Alec Guinness, which honestly, like, Ewan McGregor did an amazing job of just keeping that same like spirit that he had,
Mm.
that Alec Guinness like brought to the character originally. Because you can see it in there. He cares about Luke. He's compassionate. But he's also kind of like a lighthearted guy. He's
Right.
not like where like Obi-Wan early on, like you kind of see like, all right, he's a little bit of strict, but he has his moments of where he can play around and he can not be that normal, like typical Jedi.
Right.
Um, so I think the cohesion between Ewan McGregor and Alec Guinness just portraying the characters was perfect.
Oh
And
yeah.
if they can just catch that same fire and keep telling stories about his life, and we'll actually see like besides Anakin really get another complete character like of his progression from being younger to his teenage years, adult life, and all the way up until his death. I think that would just be the perfect character to do it with.
Dude, that shit. See, and I love Obi-Wan so much to where it's just like, man, more of him would be great. I mean, let's say even so, like let's say Obi-Wan does get a second season, like I almost don't even care where the direction goes. It's obvious that we're not going to see him fight Vader again. It's, so the story is kind of limited, but even at the same time, just seeing him more so, he kind of has clarity now, after defeating Anakin again and literally walking away from him. He literally let the past die. And you can really see that in just going on into the events of A New Hope, but also seeing the um Ewan McGregor playing an older Obi-Wan leading into the Alec Guinness Obi-Wan. It's almost like it's like on the same page basically. It looks really good. And the translation matches up really well. It's cool how he studies Alec Guinness, and I believe they're also from the same like region. I feel like I've heard Ewan McGregor talk about how it's just like, he was a legend growing up, and playing that character later, it was like really cool for him. So yeah, like that's a really cool thing, dude. And it's just, it all comes back to just playing this awesome character of Obi-Wan Kenobi. So yeah, if they did like a season 2, I really wouldn't care what the direction went. No matter even what a lot of fans think. I've seen a lot of fans that don't like it, a lot love it, and I mean, I loved it. It was great, but at the same time, I feel like a season 2 could really go in any direction, and I would just want it no matter what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to see him, give him that as many chances as he can to play Obi-Wan Kenobi, it would just be amazing.
Oh, dude,
But
and we're
also
gonna
just,
probably see him in Ahsoka season 2 in a flashback too to the Clone Wars.
oh yeah, that's really what we need to see him in that Clone Wars armor.
Dude,
I'm
fuck.
sure he's been waiting for that.
Oh yeah, give me the armor, dude. Fuck. I another thing too, kind of going back to like Mandalore, the Mandalorians. A really cool thing too, kind of switching over, would be if there was going to be 6 episodes, we have another 3, and that would be in Bo-Katan. Now, the Mandalorian season 3 was more so focused on Mandalore, what it represents. Din Djarin, obviously taking on a new role, kind of more so helping out the New Republic. Grogu, it's just another season for him to get a little bit older. But I feel like this was really Bo-Katan's chance to get her reign with Mandalore, and obviously with her getting the dark saber. Technically, she defeated the enemy that defeated Din Djarin, so she is the rightful ruler to the dark saber. Now, I feel like that when that episode, seeing Bo-Katan get the darksaber back, it felt so much better than when she had it in Rebels. Like I just
Hmm.
feel like everything, it matched up right. It didn't seem cheap, and it's awesome, But ultimately, Moff Gideon just crushing the darksaber also kind of represented that Bo-Katan's been up and she's been shot down almost every single time that she is put in this position of ruling Mandalore. So maybe we can see where this resentment comes from with Bo-Katan, maybe kind of being distant from Satine and maybe her parents. It was cool that she mentioned, her parents being more so of like a wealthier family, House of Mandalorians growing up. That was really cool to hear about. So maybe we can see like where all of that pent up kind of fight comes from in like a young Bo-Katan. That'd be dope.
I think a big thing for her, like, character going forward from here, if they bring her back or whatever they plan on doing, it's going to be for her to like learn how to rule without the dark saber.
Yeah.
That's always been her key. Is she has the dark saber, so she follows, and she has that name of House of Kreese, Clan Kreese. Like, that's what really gave her her power and influence. So if she can lead without that, I think that will make rebuilding Mandalore for her better and even stronger than it was before. I don't think you'll have that part where you're going to lead to a civil war or there's always like trouble between factions. It's her leading for who she is and not because of her name or the dark saber.
Right. And that's a cool concept too, because at the end of Mando season 3, we get to finally see Bo Katan in charge. She's leading the Mandalorians, and basically, and like with the helps of Axe Woves and Casca Reeves as well. I feel like they're like they're like the biggest side characters in like any Star Wars project. Like they're
Yeah.
always there, but they're like just so low key. But it was cool to see Bo Katan finally have that moment to where she's been put down so many times, and now she's basically lighting the fire, and it has everyone together. And even like those like OG Mandalorians that they run upon on Mandalore, maybe they can all get together and like rebuild Mandalore by the time we see Mandalorian and Grogu, or even like the Filoni Endgame, if we are to get, Thrawn and the Night Sisters and a bunch of, night troopers against, the Mandalorians, Boba Fett, all of our heroes here from the Mandoverse, Din Djarin, Grogu, Ezra, Hera, all those characters. Like, that would be so cool to see Bo-Katan finally like establish like a battalion of Mandalorians to like go to war. Kind of like what they're set up for. I mean, they're warriors at the end of the day. That's what Mandalore, strives for, and they always want to come out strong in combat. So, I mean, yeah, I think that would be like kind of a good point as well, just to kind of throw in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just her earning the respect, which, and I think she did that by defeating like Gideon and his army. Like she led that,
Right.
like, and they followed her because of what she was doing and how she was leading. I don't think they followed her because she had the saber.
Oh yeah, for sure. The dark saber is just so badass. It's just like, yeah, whoever has that is like number one.
And I think at that point, like a lot of them have let go of the saber. I think her faction really was the only ones that were kind of really stuck on it.
Yeah,
But the ones that were on Mandalore still, and Din Djarin's uh, group was they don't care about the dark saber at
yeah,
all.
dude. It's so weird because like when you think of all these Mandalorian factions, like Bo-Katan and Death Watch, like you could see like how Pre Vizsla did things in the Clone Wars, and they were just so like, oh yes, Pre Vizsla, and then when Maul kills him, they're like, oh yes, Darth Maul, yes, our leader.
Yeah,
So it's just like super weird how it's like the switch up is kind of crazy. So going forward, even looking at like Din's like Covent, like it just doesn't. It's just weird because they're very down to the point. They're very old school. You don't remove your helmet, and then when he meets Bo-Katan, Cosca Reeves, they take their helmets off, and it's more so kind of like disrespect. Like that's not
yeah,
what his clan is used to. And like even when he meets Cobb Vanth, he's just like, that's not your armor. Like, where did you get that from? Because clearly you don't know. You never swore to the creed. Um, and neither did Boba Fett. So it's kind of like one of those funny things where there's so many different factions, and even the ones that were sitting on Mandalore, they're kind of like the homeless ones. Like they looked, kind of dingy. They didn't look that good, and it's just it can be cool to see like all of these clans finally come together for once. Because even like clan Ren for Sabine's family, like they're even completely different. Like their family dynamic was pretty different too. Even though like Sabine's brother was pretty badass. I can't remember his name, but like they had a good little family.
yeah. Until the Empire, really.
Yeah, and I feel like that's
Which,
how a lot of things went.
yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be interesting and to really see how they work in the sequels to what they've built, because they've built this seemingly pretty strong new republic at this point. There's still division, there's still issues with it, but then you have these other factions just growing. You have the Mandalorians. Um, so it'll be interesting to see how the First Order really starts to come into power later down the line,
Yeah.
if these things have just seemingly built so strong.
Yeah, that is a really good point too. Cuz like seeing all them come together and the strength, it's one of those things where they're Mandalorians, they're from the same planet or even the same like neighboring planets, like with Concordia, Concord Dawn, and like all of those different like planets coming together. It's very very interesting to see how different they are, yet they're still all so alike. One thing that kind of threw me for a loop was hearing Luke Skywalker talking about Mandalorians, because it seems like, you think of the Mandalorian, you think it's more so of like Clone Wars era. So you're dealing with the prequel timeline, but, going forward into the original trilogy and then into the Mandoverse, just shortly after there, it's kind of interesting to hear Luke talking about Mandalorians, just because it seems like that faction is like out of his time. It's not
Yeah.
very prominent. But that's what makes it even cool, like even when Luke was telling Grogu, like, you can't give into attachment. If you do, then you can go with your friend the Mandalorian. But if not, then Jedi can't give into attachment, and then you would be the first Jedi in my academy, which is just kind of crazy to think, like Luke is like literally, dealing in absolutes right now. You're either going to be a Jedi or you're going to be with the Mandalorians, and it's cool to give him that choice. And it's just also really neat to hear Luke talking about something that is like before his time. So yeah,
Yeah, and it just ties it in. I'm sure there was like stories of Mandalorians, but they're all like folk tales at his point growing up because they're mainly were all gone,
right.
or in hiding, or just didn't really show themselves. Um, so to a kid on Tatooine, probably just read about them in books.
Yeah, I know, and that's another cool thing because it's like even Wim from Skeleton Crew, him with his little like tablet reading through all those stories of the Jedi. And it's like, maybe Luke, like you said, he heard from the Jedi from books or just from, just word of mouth, basically. Like, it's just like us when our grandparents or like old heads tell us like, oh yeah, back in the day, the music was different. Let me tell you about this band. And you're like, all right, let me have it, tell me about it. It
Yeah,
could be like kind of the same thing there, like maybe an older guy uh, at one of the stations or anything, and Mos Espa or Mos Eisley is just like, all right, listen, there's like this group of Mandalorians, their ancestors rode the mythosaur. I mean, that's always a little thing to throw in there. So I mean, that'd be dope for Luke. I mean, it's
because
kind of
Luke was definitely into like stories because he knew about the Clone Wars
yeah,
and
yeah.
he knew about the Jedi. He's like, "You fought in the Clone Wars?"
Yeah, he's like, wait, I've heard of that. I'm like, what? That's just like us being
Uh,
like, oh, like, you have someone that fought in Vietnam, it's just like, oh, wow, terrible times.
so yeah, it's cool to think about that. Even the tiniest little stuff of how it really could all connect and just expand to the bigger universe, and it just shows like how much more there can be.
Hmm.
And those Tales of series, or even like more animated series, give us more animated series. Star Wars is probably best in animation, just because of the amount of stories you can tell without putting in the money of a movie or a TV show. Um, it just gives so much more to expand the world. I know. I mean, once season 7 of the Clone Wars um, came on. Really, before that, we didn't have like Rebels was like hit or miss for some people. It leaned on the side of most people. Really didn't like it, but the stories you got out of it were so great. I
Oh
know a
yeah.
lot of people didn't like Resistance. I didn't watch Resistance, but to like, I don't know if Resistance was like, you know what, well, that didn't do so well. We're not gonna do any more like animation around the time and like the sequels and stuff like that. But like, I'm sure there was people out there that did like it and would like to see more of like that time period told in animation. So I think that's something they should really do more so they can give fans more of the story, fill out more of the story.
Right. Yeah, dude. And that's what makes Star Wars great because, like for instance, like Rebels, it's not my favorite, but I enjoy it. And I know that's one of your favorites as well. Clone Wars season 7. I mean, I feel like all of us, other than the Martez sister little arc, that just kind of strengthens Ahsoka's side of like kind of going forward and, what it leads up to ultimately going against Maul, the Siege of Mandalore, all that stuff. So, I mean, the story, it makes sense, but it's just like not everyone's favorite. But like season 7 of the Clone Wars was just amazing. It literally, you take that one season and it just enhances Revenge of the Sith to a whole nother level. Season 7 of the Clone Wars made me like Ahsoka Tano more, and it made Anakin having an apprentice make more sense, and to him, being a master and then not being granted the rank of master. So like obviously with this enhancement of the animation, it makes the live action even better, which you could never think in a million years. Like, oh, like George Lucas and Revenge of the Sith, there's nothing that beats that. But the animation style, is amazing. I mean, even like the Rise of Skywalker, I think just this week it came out that it costed $600 million, and a lot of fans don't like that movie. And it's just kind of like, I don't know how the money works. I don't know the budgeting. I don't know how much X amount goes into this, X amount goes into that. But
Mm.
I do know for animation, it's a lot cheaper. Now, here's the thing though, is like the Tales of series, there's three of them. And they came out 3 years ago. So it looks like we're getting one per year. And it's just, I mean, you can tell so many stories, like Count Dooku's backstory, Ahsoka's, backstory, and then a short, time after in her becoming Fulcrum, like all of these cool things. Like, oh, I wonder what days like those were for Ahsoka. We get to see that. Morgan Elsbeth, she's such a random character, but there's something about her in The Mandalorian and in Ahsoka season one where you're just like, man, she's just really cool and like captivating. Like, what more did she do? And just to know that she, like could have helped Thrawn create the TIE defenders, something that he thought was a lot more important than building a space station, known as the Death Star. So it's like cool as hell to know that a lone Night Sister, could have helped Thrawn create a power weapon essentially. um, and Barriss Offee, I don't really care for the character, but at the same time, I feel like it was a good little closure story for her. And then of course, dude, Asajj Ventress, sign me up, and Cad Bane, Mr. Colby. I mean, they're all good stories. I mean, that's the thing. The Tales of series, they always cook something. So I feel like we gotta keep getting those at least once a year.
Yeah, it's just those little moments of like clarity and a little bit of more to add to a character really just make it that it's so good. But I hope that that's not something that they like stick to. Like that's the only thing we're gonna get in animation.
Yeah,
Like, give me a full fledged show of time between the original trilogy and the sequels. Like, give me something.
right.
Um, just like just to have something a little bit more than those 3 episodes. Again, it's really cool for like some of those like one-off story beats or like smaller side characters that like you get a little fan service of, hey, we got a little bit more of Cad Bane, we got a little bit more of Asajj Ventress. But like to actually fill some of these storylines so we don't have to wait 30 years for movies and TV shows to do it. Like, give us the stuff in animation. Like, the majority of Star Wars fans love the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Obviously, like it had its ups and downs. Like the first 2 seasons of the Clone Wars, like it's kind of at best. But then
Yeah.
it really finds its footing. So I think, that happens with a lot of things nowadays. Like they get so scared of like things not being well received at first that they never really get their chance to flourish. And I
Right.
think two like excellent examples of this on both sides is like, I don't know if you ever heard like the beginning of like the US version of The Office. They
Yeah.
they struggled really hard the first season. Like that the show almost stopped after the first season.
Just crazy because that's like the one of the biggest
Yeah.
shows,
And then
household names ever.
but they really fought for it, like the creators and the showrunners, the actors really fought to keep it going because they knew they had something. And the studio went with it. They let it keep going, and it's one of the most beloved shows of all time now.
And that's so crazy, dude.
And then on the other end, you have something like the Acolyte, which wasn't well received at the start, and the studio's like, you know what, we're done.
Right.
Which you didn't really give it a chance. Like one season is not giving something a chance when it's clearly supposed to be more than that. Like you can have your one-off seasons and stuff. Like clearly, like with the Obi-Wan show, like they made it so it could fit in what like the whole story you were getting in one season.
Yep.
Like there wasn't no cliffhangers, there wasn't anything left untold. It's this is what happened, and we told the story all in that one season. We could make a second season if we wanted, but we don't need to. But you left the Acolyte with such like, all right, you maybe people didn't like it, but there's more to be given from that, but you're not giving it the chance. So it kind of sucks there. And I think that's where like places like Marvel, I know you're not a big like superhero guy, is like they leave so many like untied ends on different movies because they just kind of go where I think the popularity is liking. So if like the end of one movie, oh, people are so excited to see where this goes, they'll go with that. But the end of another, they're like, oh, nobody really cared and nobody really liked that, so we're just gonna kind of forget it happened.
Mm,
Like, don't let that happen with Star Wars. Like, it's such like a big universe and there's so many stories to tell. Somebody is going to like something. I
right.
know the masses might not, but they're playing, instead of filling out the story, they're appealing to what the masses like, and I think that's the wrong direction to go in Star Wars.
It is. It is actually like a terrible way to go just because I mean, the internet, it's a double-edged sword. It's an awesome place. You know, I spend a lot of my time on it, but then again, it sucks because of the people who are on the internet. At the same time, I feel like it's hard with Star Wars because right now I feel like the prequel trilogy is like very well received, but I remember being 5, 6, 7, 8 years old getting told like, dude, these movies suck. Like, why do you like them? Like, I'm a little kid getting told like that these movies suck. And I'm just like, dude, whatever. Like, I don't buy that. I love these movies. They're great. And then kind of like going forward to like the sequels or to The Acolyte or even the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, Book of Boba Fett, like all these shows, for the most part, if you find the right spot on the internet, you're going to see that they're very well received and that a lot of people actually love them. But there's always that little subgroup of people who just literally sit on the internet and just talk about how much they hate something, which in my opinion, that's just like super weird. Like find something better with your time. Like, I don't know, pick up an extra shift at work or something. Cause it's just like, I don't know what that does for you. I don't know what that does for Disney. You know, people saying the funniest thing I see in comments is just like, oh, Disney ruined Star Wars. Or like even today, for instance, the picture of Giancarlo Esposito, Hayden Christensen, and John Boyega. And it's like, a lot of accounts are like, oh, what are these three talking about? What are they cooking up? And like, I saw this one comment earlier and it was just like, they're talking about how bad Disney sucks. And it's like, bro, Disney is paying all three of these men pretty handsomely, I would assume, you know? And it's just like, and you and I have had this conversation, like Disney did not ruin Star Wars. If anything, it's giving it more time in the light. Like, what would Star Wars have been if George just stopped in 2005? Because that was really it. It was pretty much a done deal. And the people who said, "Oh, well, you know, George Lucas had an entire sequel trilogy," and it's like he didn't though. Like he had ideas if he was to make a sequel trilogy, and it didn't even go further than that. So it's just like Disney Star Wars. I mean, it has Star Wars in the light, dude. It's just such a weird thing.
Yeah. And Disney on its own is a double edged sword. Like, I
Yeah,
will back up everything that they've done. But again, like I said, they appeal to the masses a bit, where George, like, he didn't care what people thought about his movie. He didn't care what people thought about his script or his characters. He wanted to tell the story from start to finish.
right.
And he told, and I'm pretty sure this what he said in the interview is probably not exactly word for word, but like he made the original trilogy like as open and closed as it could be,
Right.
just in case he didn't get to make his next plans, whether it's prequels or the sequels. He made it so it was cohesive. You got everything that you needed. Obviously, you everybody wants more out of something, especially in such an awesome universe that he built. But
Right.
the story that was told from beginning to end was complete. But I feel like in newer projects, or like the Acolyte is the best example. Again, it's like you're telling this story and then the show ends and it's not complete, and then instead of like at least giving a second season to tie the loose ends up and then completing the story there, you're just gonna give up on it. To me, that's it's not the way to go about it.
Yep. And I like me, dude. I enjoyed the Acolyte. I didn't like everything in it, but for the most part, I thought it was a good show. I mean, it was fun and different, but at the same time, I feel like whoever said that there was going to be, an Acolyte season two, like that was one of the weirdest things was when it was quote unquote canceled. It was like never, it didn't get greenlit for a second season because of the review bombing. Like, if something gets review bombed, it doesn't survive. Like that's just a thing. So I'm always sitting here thinking like, okay, what if the Acolyte came out 20 years ago where the internet wasn't too prominent and where people, you know, like how are you going to go and review something that you hadn't even seen yet? Like that's just weird.
Yeah,
Um so clearly, with Manny Jacinto and Qimir kind of stealing the show, I feel like for the most part, a lot of us are. That's the reason why we love the Acolyte is just because of his performance alone. And Disney, in my opinion, is not dumb enough to leave that character in the Acolyte season one. You can't just leave Manny there. You can't bring Darth Plagueis to live action and just let it sit there and nothing is told. Hey, if it makes people happy, if there was an Acolyte season two, people would watch it. That's the thing. Like I know a few people personally who are just like, yeah, I quit watching after the third episode, and it's like, did you quit watching after the third episode because you saw someone tweet about it, or did you just quit after season or after episode three just because like ironically, just it's just a weird thing because that's when the review bombing started. So take Manny Plagueis. Just it doesn't even have to be the Acolyte. It can be the master or the apprentice or just straight up the stranger. This is Kymir's story after the events of Baldemnik or whatever that planet was. It was the unknown planet, but pretty sure it was Baldemnik. But maybe just take off from there. And plus, Manny Jacinto is in the Time Magazine Hot 100 upcoming artists. So this dude is Disney's gonna run with that, just like they did with Pedro Pascal. Now, Manny Jacinto and Pedro Pascal, you can have them on whatever teeter totter you want, but it's good for business, it's good for company. Plus, great characters, so keep it going.
yeah, absolutely. Just if you're going to, if the next thing you're like, okay, this is going to be the end of this, just tie it up nicely. That's, I feel
Yeah,
like that's the only thing. Like they made Skeleton Crew like, hey, this is a open and closed like story. Like it didn't need to be more than that, and I think it worked perfectly.
yeah, it was
But
great.
you just have Plagueis pop around the corner at the end of the Acolyte and just be like, nope, no more. Like what?
That's see, dude. That's why I don't buy it when they say it's canceled. Maybe yeah, maybe it's done, but not that. You don't bring one of the most mysterious characters of all time in Star Wars. It's a fact. The man who ran the galaxy and started an empire, the master of Darth Vader, the biggest villain in all of cinema, you don't show that person's master and not continue the story. Plus Qimir was so badass. You don't not capitalize on that. Like that is, how they're always like, oh, you need to make this show because that Disney, if you want money, you make this show. Like that's my pitch is like, if you want money, if that's what it is, you got to extend Qimir and his character. You just have to.
I agree, definitely.
It's simple. But I don't know. I Speaking of Tales of series, I hope they don't just like cut it off with like Tales of the Sith and or Tales of the Ren, something like you can't just like that's how you bring Chimera in. You got to give him something. You got to have Manny out there. I don't know.
Yeah, that is what I would be worried about is if they decide, hey, like we're not going to do this anymore, like live action. Let's just do a Tales of series because it's the easy like cop out way of
Yeah,
doing this. That
that would
is
hurt.
something I could see happening.
Yeah, and I would be pretty upset with that. But at the same time, I feel like if they want to brew up something, they're gonna do it. And maybe, dude, who knows? Here's the easy route. What you do is you make a damn movie because they're 2 hours long, other than a limited series or a TV series that, collectively is maybe 8 to 10 hours for a season. I feel like more money goes into that than a damn movie. So, I mean, even you could take it with like a low budget, a low Disney budget, you're still going to get a good movie, maybe like Solo, even to that extent. I mean, The Stranger, like Star Wars, The Stranger, like that's where you like tie that up.
Well, what would be an interesting format for it, and Disney has been doing it for Marvel, is doing like these specials. So they're
Mm.
just like, I
Like a
think,
Disney Plus special? Like, is that the route you're
yeah.
thinking? Yeah.
So they did it for Werewolf by Night, and they're doing one for Punisher. So they're
Oh,
not
okay.
full like feature movies, but they're like about an hour. Um, Same like production as probably longer episode of a TV show. Just if they did that to tie up a story, like
Mm.
that could even be a route they could go. But I just think having a character and an actor like Manny, you need to bring him back in live action again.
Yeah, dude. You don't miss out on an opportunity. That dude, I mean, I've even like I'm not even joking. I've heard chicks talking about him like at work in the Freakier Friday movie. I'm like, I know exactly who you're talking about. He's like one of the like coolest Star Wars
You're
characters
like that's
ever.
my guy.
Yeah, I know him. Like we're great friends. Uh like you don't just leave him hanging there. And obviously too, the thing is like seeing him at Star Wars Celebration Japan, like on YouTube, like just seeing him kind of like not like dumbfounded, but he was just kind of like yeah, I'm here. What's up, everybody? And then once they gifted him the Qimir helmet, he was just fucking ecstatic. So like you could see the love that he has for that character because I mean he played him pretty damn well. Sometimes I'll find myself just going on YouTube and looking up the compilation of Qimir and all of his shots in the Acolyte, and it's just the acting is great, the fight sequences are great, the hatred he shows, the love he shows, like it's a good ass character, and I just feel like you can't just let that sit there. So yeah, maybe they do like a little Disney Plus special, hour and 20 minutes, hour 30 minutes, just throw him in there and maybe in the first 5 minutes you can just tie up all the acolyte stuff. There's a bigger story that goes on, and I don't know, dude. It seems so simple, but I I just don't think they let Manny sit on the back burner, dude.
And like don't let it go 10, 15 years later either. Like
You'd want to
just
do it
have him in
relatively close to now.
there.
Even for my sake, that makes me happy because we get more Manny quicker
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
ever. Because yeah, that hype dies down, and it's like, oh, remember that show that everyone hated like 15 years ago? They're finally doing something with that, and Manny
Yeah.
Jacinto still hasn't aged one day, like, or like he looks a lot older. I don't know, like just
Yeah.
weird things, but
It'd be crazy. They just open up the episode of Plagueis just kills OSHA.
yeah, first
It's
5 minutes, blah.
it's like we're not having any of that.
Yeah. Fans are like, yes. And it's just like, that's shitty, but still, it's just like, yeah, if you want to do, the masses, that's how you do it. Just maybe he has to the kill OSHA just to, run off with that dark
I mean,
side.
then you're also setting up another. I mean, if he kills OSHA, then you're setting up um, another protagonist in May. Just have May be the protagonist of that again,
Yep.
and her probably you could have her somehow kill Chimere, and then Plagueis just kill her, and then that's when he moves on,
Wow. Yeah. Or
like a
for
little
him,
failed experiment for him.
yeah. Like it just didn't work out. Damn, that would be pretty interesting. You know what a crazier thing
Or
would go
yeah,
ahead, go
go ahead.
ahead.
I was just thinking like, or Plagueis kills OSHA, that kind of sends Chimera away from him, and then he partners with May to try to kill Plagueis, and Plague they don't end up on the right side of that.
Mm. That would be fire. Damn, bro. You know what's crazy? Like, I think I sit here and think, and like, Kiadi Mundi, of course, said that they haven't seen the Sith in over a millennium. Whatever. I What would be so cool, and like this is just very way off the board, but like Vernestra talking to May, asking her like, "Where was your sister?" And she's like, "Sister," like she's just kind of like, because she just got her mind wiped. So Vernestra is trying to, find Qimir. Obviously, she's trying to get to the bottom of this. And at the end, when she goes to Yoda and is like, "I have to tell you something," whether she tells him the truth of what actually happened, you know, Soul, like she blamed it on Soul. Maybe, she tells Yoda that Soul didn't do it, or he's just like, I know what you did, and that was a good thing because we need to sweep this under the rug. They can't find out. What if like Yoda and Vernestra like go off and they like run into Plagueis and Qimir or something? Like imagine seeing Yoda fighting Qimir, like Chimir's fighting style versus Yoda. Like that would be fucking awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
it would be.
I mean, and it's like I said, it's far fetched, but maybe this is where Vernestra dies. She's like 120 or something during the time of the Acolyte. And maybe Yoda is able to, fend himself off and run away and never tells the other Jedi that, the Jedi have never came into, contact with a Sith in over a millennium. Maybe Yoda is like, well, we have, but I'm not telling you that. So like that could
Yeah,
be something to even show even more how shady the Jedi are. Yoda, you could look at Yoda on Exile and Dagobah and be like, that dude sucks. Like, he's not cool after all, So like he's pretty shady, Like that would be some cool shit. I don't know. Just a little thing throw out there.
yeah. I think we've talked about it before. How Yoda might be the most flawed out of all of them, even though he is the wisest and he is one of the strongest. Is he did so much to keep up the reputation of the Jedi and build that order, and he was willing to do anything to not let that fall, which ultimately led to its fall.
Yeah.
Um,
It's nuts.
where yeah, and it shows that that's where he went wrong, and it dates back. It's not like, oh, the Jedi Order was perfect up until Palpatine got his hands into things. No, the Jedi were always flawed, or maybe it started with Yoda. Is he could have been the big issue. I doubt they'll want to make him really, really like take the fall for everything. But maybe the Jedi Order has just been that. It's always had its issues and it's always had its problems. And finally, it took somebody smart enough and strong enough like Palpatine to really take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Um, where obviously that's where Plagueis couldn't succeed, or others who tried, like they couldn't outmaneuver them, outsmart them, and it just got to Palpatine where it was the perfect storm of everything.
Fuck. Dude. See, and it's like, hey, Disney, listen to this little conversation right here. You can steal the ideas, just put our names in the little fine text at the end. It's I mean, stuff like this like gets me hype. I mean, even like, there's people who don't like rumors or leaks going into a movie. I just like, for me, it's just the theories. That's what I get off on, dude. I love theories. I'm thinking all day every day, thinking about like how Grogu can be the next Tar Vizsla, how Quinlan Voss getting a backstory and showing the path could actually lead up to, Luke's Jedi Order, like all these cool things. Like I think theorizing going forward with like Kymir's character, it's a touchy subject with the Acolyte, but going forward it could just open up doors to seeing the prequel trilogy, the original trilogy, just seeing it all be so different, Like it's just, I don't know, all these things tying in just makes me think like, dude, we need these.
Yeah, it's a whole nother side of like the fandom that like you have like your loyalists to the certain trilogies and or whatever it is, but like just trying to like connect them all and thinking how every project, how every storyline character could really all interconnect. It's just a whole nother like side of the fandom, which is really cool to like talk to you about it, talk to others about it. it just brings a whole nother love to Star Wars in general.
Yeah, it's like, what do you guys want? You know, we all have different opinions, but at the end of the day, it's like we're all, talking because we love Star Wars so much. It's the perfect sense. It's like a good happy medium for everybody.
Yeah.
But well, dude, if you want, the floor is yours. Tell everyone where they can find you. Another great conversation with Meesa Brickz. One of the first returning guests here on Claim Brandalorian conversation. But yeah, man, go ahead and tell everyone where they can find you, what your channel's about, Instagram. It's all you, man.
All right, before I cut off, I do have one thing to show you. So these are film strips from Revenge of the Sith. And this is from obviously the battle on Mustafar. These are
Bro,
like official film strips like that were played in theaters. Um I have a good amount of them, but this is obviously the best one. But
dude,
probably the coolest thing right now that I have in my collection.
that is nuts, dude. And just to think, like, dude, like this is from 2005, and like so many eyes were watching this exact film, like the physical film that's in your hands. Like, I mean, how many times? Like, that's insane, dude.
I know I saw them and I could not pass it up. I He had the full film reel for Revenge of the Sith.
Uh,
I have about probably 30 or so uh different like little cutouts from different scenes. Um
wow,
but that's
wow.
by far the coolest one. He special cut it for me, put it in a little like plastic case. The other ones are just kind of like the film strips, and I have them in the top loaders. But this one he like specially put in there for me. Um, so shout out
Bro.
Common House Co. I think he said somebody in his family worked at one of the studios and able was able to get their hands on the like actual reel of film, and it's just been kind of passed down. Um, So yeah, I got my hands on that, and probably right now my favorite, like just little niche thing to have.
Hell yeah, dude. I don't even know what I'd do if I had that. I'd be like, fuck, where's this gonna sit at? Because this ain't.
And it's so, and that's also like the thing with it. It's hard to display because you can't really because you got to have it up against the light to really truly see it. Um,
Fuck.
but just that part of history and for a movie that means so much to me, and it's like part of my childhood,
Yeah,
my
dude.
adult life. Like I I needed it, and I made it mine. Um, yeah, so I just wanted to show you that before I signed off. You're the first person to actually like see that I had these. Um, and I'm trying to get them out before this airs, so the other guys don't see them before. But I have about 6 each for all of you guys that I'm going to be sending out.
Oh shit.
Yeah, they're different scenes. So he had the film reel for Revenge of the Sith and the film reel for the 2008 Clone Wars.
Oh, the movie,
Um,
nice.
yeah, so I have different ones I picked out for you guys each. So you have like a little piece of that memorabilia as well. Because they're obviously, I got a lot of them because he was selling them at like, they were going for like $1 a piece. Some of the like the more expensive ones went for a little bit more. But I was like, I need these. I know the boys will love them. And I can't enjoy all of them in my collection just because they're so hard to display and really see. So I want to bless you guys with that.
Oh fuck yeah, dude. That's gonna be so dope. Thank you early in advance, man.
Of course, I'm gonna try to get them out soon. Just been a little busy. I have them literally all like separated in like your different packages. I just got to get them to post office, get them sent out.
Yeah, that's kind of how I am. You, Jack, and Brickley left. I'm just slacking big time, but I also like getting things up so I can just like it's like a care package basically.
Yeah.
But
Um, yeah, I try to do that occasionally because I got a lot of like stuff that is kind of like sitting in my collection that just sits, and I'd rather somebody else get their chance of enjoying it.
yeah, no, that makes sense. It's kind of the it's kind of how collecting goes, man. You just have stuff and then you're just like, well, it don't do nothing for me no more.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, that's all I got. If you guys want to check out my Instagram, at Meesa Brickz, you can find some dope Lego photography. I repost all my friends' stuff, so they have awesome stuff as well. Just yeah, give me a follow, and if you like what you see, stick around, comment maybe. But that's about it.
Yeah, and everything for Misa will be down in the description below, of course, as always. Also, too, if you guys are looking for a lightsaber for your first one, or even just want to add one to your collection, the Saber Company, formerly known as Saber Theory, reached out, and we are affiliated now. So, if you guys want to, make sure you use code Clan Brandalorian all together to get 10% off site wide. Really good deal. A lot of cool stuff. I mean, if you look at the original Obi-Wan Kenobi lightsaber from episode 1, I mean, I can save you almost $50 off that bad boy. So, I mean, just for instance, go check it out. Everything will be linked below. But yeah, make sure you guys follow Meesa Brickz. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe, leave a like, let us know what could be some of your favorite Tales of series, or going forward, what would you like to see with the Acolyte season 2, or just an adaptation of some of the characters from the Acolyte. And of course, if you're a Lego collector, let us know some of your favorite sets, something. We'll chime back with you. But other than that, we'll see y'all in the next one. We're out of here.
Follow Cantina Chaos.
Yes, Cantina Chaos as well. That's the group that we were talking about at the beginning. There's a because we have that big announcement. I don't know how I forgot, but yes, Cantina Chaos. That'll be down in the description as well on Instagram. We will probably go live soon to announce. So you guys stay tuned and make sure you subscribe, follow somebody because you don't want to miss this. But with that being said, good save, Misa.
Yes, sir. Peace out.